pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone. Vet here, probation. You've been chasing 16 now.
Good morning, Captain. Yes, that is correct. I'm here today for a transfer of $8. Since well before I was chief, there's been an imbalance in my monthly finances of $16. I believe after much tracking down that I found the root cause of it. And so if you receive my email, long story short, this $8 transfer should remedy it, where I can have a true balance at the end of each month.
You got the information. Any questions for Ed?
Hopefully this is it.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion by Thor, second by John, that we approve $8 transfer. Any additional questions or comments? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Okay, we're gonna change the agenda just a touch. Nathan, we're gonna have you go next, if you would.
Morning.
Morning.
So you have hopefully a copy of the proposal for scanning our permit files. After talking over with the commission, it actually winds up being that we have more space to store the hard copies of permits for a longer period of time. So the immediate need for scanning isn't there anymore. So I'm trying to defer this project for at least a year or so. So basically withdrawing this request at this point, and I'll bring it back in a year or two.
Nathan, what do you think with trending and the costs you have related to this will do in a year or two?
Probably go up, but I'm not even certain of that. This quote was lower than the previous quote we had with the local company. It was about half the price of the local company. So if we could find a similar vendor who's eager to get business, it may be the same. So we just don't know.
Was this for a year? I didn't see that anyway.
This would be to scan all of our.
No, I mean, was this contract for a year? Was that the 19.8? Was that?
Oh, that was to scan the volume of permits we have. And then from that, once they're scanned, we just submit the new ones are going to be what. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next on it, the agenda, ARPA appropriations for jail antenna and sand strategies. Brad?
Moving to sort of sand strategies. Got sand strategies, the company who is serving as a consultant for broadband and what the county. And we recently did a 6-month extension of that contract. This work would pay for that from ARPA, and we'd like to continue to pay for that from ARPA.
Are we still seeing progress on that end of it, from sand moving forward?
Yeah, we are. And especially there was a challenge process that they helped lead the county through with the state on underserved and let's see if they're different. Yeah, non-served residences, which originally the state had like 477 homes in the county, and they were able to get it up to over 8,000 efforts that they did.
Okay,
So they're still working on that. Mid-July, the broadband office for the state is going to be working on this major BEAD funding. And CERF will apply for that, but Lakeland Internet will apply. They've been working with Lakeland, and they would like to actually have Lakeland next month and kind of tell you what they are. Lakeland is a wireless opportunity that they're doing in Steuben County and then probably in DeKalb, and they're just going to come and kind of present to council and the commissioner meeting as well, just to give you an idea and an overall cost. I think that's something you all have been looking for is, hey, what's it cost to serve everybody? And this Lakeland is an opportunity in sand strategy, is putting that together. And also I do want to compliment the RMC. We had a call last week where the RMC is working pretty openly with Lakeland, making this opportunity possible. So I'm pleased with what Zach is doing for us.
so explain to me again what Lakeland's gonna bring to us more than,
But Lakeland can serve the entire county.
okay,
Where, even though SERP, I think, just added another 100, Comcast is looking at, but Lakeland is a countywide solution.
okay. And it's in other counties around us. Is there reception? Are they getting along pretty good with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going pretty well.
Okay.
Zach was telling me that he and one of his, I don't remember what his guy's name is. They went out with Lakeland in Steuben County, middle of nowhere,
Okay.
and had, did a speed test on his phone. He was getting almost a gig speed.
Okay.
Which is pretty wild.
Okay.
I'll take him up to Kim's house.
There you go.
That's the true test.
There you go.
Dale, who's the driving force behind Lake?
It's Chuck Serac.
Yeah. so I know.
And he started because he couldn't get internet at his Lake House in Steuben County, so he goes, I'll just start a company.
So is that, I got a question. Dale, do you know, is that all underground or is it gonna come off the poles or?
It's basically, I wouldn't call it Wi-Fi, but, it's a wireless solution. It's more like Starlink or something like that, but it's not satellite. And it's much better than what Mercury did that we tried. So, but it's basically wireless. But they will use RMC's fiber that goes from substation to substation. And they would lease a couple of the dark lines in that cable, in the existing fiber that the RMC has.
Okay, thank you.
This request is nothing new to us. We knew that contract was extended. So your pleasure on this?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 18,000 for sand strategies to continue on internet.
Out of the ARPA fund.
Now the ARPA funds, yes, sorry.
Yes.
2024.
2024-11, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Nick. Further discussion or questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, the same. Passes.
If that don't work, Dale, I'll be back to see you.
Okay, Chad?
So the second request is we would like to purchase the antenna at the new jail we have built from ARPA. So we provided patent information, I think that Candy has been in an email, so I'll full. And I know that there's been conversations with Jason between last meeting and this meeting as well. I know that Jason's here. Between the two of us, I think we can probably answer any questions that you might have. But what it comes down to is that we funds. We have other funds that have been allocated that we could use to purchase the antenna. But at the end of the day, it makes more sense to start utilizing ARPA. So we're here to ask if you would allocate the funds from ARPA to make this purchase.
Questions? Okay, I don't want to get in a, back in November, we got in a pretty good argument match about this. So, and I asked the question back then. There's no other, you don't need anything else other than the monitors. And the answer was no, we don't need anything else. And now we need an $82,000 antenna. ERS didn't know this when you bought the monitors? That's my question. I don't understand why, because I asked that question. The answer to me was no.
This is not part of a CAS system. That has nothing to do with the purchase of Motorola system as far as the dispatch equipment itself. This runs the jail, this helps the fire repeater come back in. That's all the things in there. If you remember correctly, when I had this conversation with Joan, this would have, a lot of this stuff would have never gotten missed. And I know Joan expressed her displeasure with me about the communication level of it. We took dispatch out of this equation. It was out for months, almost a year of our whole planning budget because the combined dispatch was being looked at. So then we had to scramble and put everything back in when it got down to the nitty-gritty of things. So dispatch was completely wiped out at the recommendation of Teresa Green. Started back then. So there's a lot of stuff that we had to come back and play catch up. And that all started because when I came back in to get the console equipment, everything to move forward to the dispatch center, nobody communicated with me that that was laid to rest until that day when we hit a deadline of saying that we needed this equipment because it takes a year to build that system. So then we have to part. And shortly, I believe shortly after that meeting is when we had to start putting together what we needed. We had to have people come back into the basement just to look at the system to see what needed to be moved, what needed to be replaced, what kind of recorders we needed, new consolettes. That all had to be redone because it was all dropped out because of combined dispatch in the very beginning. All that was taken out. We had spreadsheets that we looked over and it was all removed from the beginning. And that was prior to me being sheriff. So it's been going on a long time. So I know where you're coming from about not saying anything, but no, this has nothing to do with consoles. This is the overall working of the jail and then making sure the fire has to be able to have a repeater to come back in. So is it on me? It might be on me. Is it on the previous administration? It might be, but it wasn't my vote to take it out of the planning equation of the new building to begin with.
Whose decision was it to take it out?
Commissioners did.
I just have some comments and I have one question. I think it should have been included in the quotes for the 911 dispatch. It's part of 911 dispatch, whether you say it is or isn't, we need fire coverage and it's part of it. And I think it should have been included. And that comes the problem of not getting quotes to come in and have other people come in and bid on things. Because someone else could have caught that if Motorola had missed it. I don't know if they missed it or mentioned to you it needs to be in there. I don't know. I went to Chad after our May meeting to ask him questions and he said he couldn't answer them. I needed to talk to Jason. Jason and I talked and he pretty much made it clear I had to go back to Chad. So I'm left with nothing. So I just have comments. I was going to reiterate what Tom just said. Why wasn't this in the bid for last fall? I don't understand that at all. You're talking $87,000. We have to follow the State Board of Accounts. Why don't we have 3 quotes? You've known this for years, according to Chad, 2 years. The quote that you got from ERS came in February. And now Amy was put into it, and I'm assuming June from the paperwork to try to get the quotes. And we have no additional quotes. So I have to wonder, how do we know where we are in line for the pricing on this? We have nothing to compare it to. And I don't understand why we keep calling it antenna when it's a huge package. It's a huge package. It includes, I think 8 radios. I'm not positive. I'd have to look at my notes. I think 8 radios on that. It's a huge purchase. It's not just an antenna. And why can't we just hook up the antenna to our current repeater? I don't understand why we're buying a new repeater. I would think our current repeater could be used and just get the antenna and hook up to it. I don't have the knowledge for that. I wasn't able to obtain the knowledge from that. I tried. We were told numerous times last year, we specifically looked at the commissioners during our budget meeting, sitting in the front row, what else do we have to look forward to that's gonna cost an exuberant amount of funds? Nothing. Everything is covered. Every one of us heard this. Everything is covered. We have no more expenses coming in. So there again, it goes back to, why wasn't this included in the bid for the 911 dispatch center? I have to question the expertise of, I'm assuming this gentleman here is from Motorola. I don't know. I don't know if we have any representative here. I have to question, does he have our best interest at heart? When I'm assuming he knew we would need this, why wasn't it brought forth? And if it was brought forth, why wasn't it expended to us? We've tried to get the information, and just because you withhold information, whether that happened or whether it got put aside, this quote or the presentation from ERS came in, it's dated February. It's February. We've had all this time to get the other quotes in. I'm just really disappointed again. And my only question is, has this contract already been signed? Do we already have a signed contract? So you've already purchased the merchandise, and now you're coming to us to pay for it after you've purchased it.
We're coming to you to ask to use ARPA. We can use other funds. Other funds have been allocated to commissioners. We have other methods of payment that we can make. We're asking to use ARPA.
You don't have to come before council for such an exuberant expense.
No, the funds have been allocated to the commissioners already
Through what fund?
through the budget. We could use on-site, off-site in our seated budget. We could use we have 150,000 from QCAP building maintenance that's already been allocated for expenses that come out for the year. So, and then there are funds that are allocated from the jail tax that we could utilize, but it makes more sense to use ARPA funds. We have to start spending the ARPA funds down. As you all know, by the end of this year, we have to have either spent or enter into agreements to spend the ARPA dollars. So that's what we're here asking for.
So you don't have to come before council to use those other funds to purchase the property.
When the funds have already been approved in a budget year, you can utilize those funds for expenses throughout the year.
We used to, quite a few years ago, have a limit on the amount of money that could be spent, even if it was in a department's budget. We eliminated that when you were still on council.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's never been changed. Once we, as a council, put together the budget and allocate money to different departments, they don't have to come back and ask for permission to spend it as long as it's being spent properly.
How do you know? How do you know where this falls in line at as far as pricing? How do you know this is a fair price?
Well, I don't have the answer for you.
I'm only asking these questions. We're representing the taxpayers, and the ARPA is the taxpayer funds.
I understand.
And I think that's a valid question because I don't see anything to compare it to.
I don't have any reason to believe that ERS has inflated the price of this antenna. I don't have any reason to believe that they're taking advantage of the county. And it's what the commissioners have vetted out and has chosen. And we feel that it's the best that we can provide for the dispatch center. So I didn't feel that it was an unreasonable price.
Is there anything else in the line that's coming up that we're not aware of that we should know? Or is it there?
There's nothing that I'm aware of. But that doesn't mean that things won't come up.
Well, I
mean,
understand that, but
we're-
you knew about this. This was known about, and now it's all coming to us at the last minute again. That's what I'm asking. That was my comment and my one and only question.
Joan,
Thank you.
I've never received anything from the other vendors too as of last week. And I don't know if you read,
I
did you
did.
get that?
Raycom, but then again, it's short notice. I'm assuming they just got that since sometime in June.
Probably,
You know,
in the
how long
June.
How long did ERS have to put their quote together? I mean, I'm looking for fairness is what I'm looking for.
I know, and that's what we did when you asked me that question. And I tried to research it. I don't have that expertise to look for that type of thing. So I asked Amy for her input. She guided me to,
But we have to commend Amy for stepping in at the late timing and trying to help. And thank you, Amy. I know that wasn't easy. That's all my comments.
Questions, comments?
I think at the end of the day, we have to trust our commissioners that they're doing the best for the best for our county as well.
Well, there's a procedure in place from the State Board of Accounts that keeps everything level. And I would just like to see it followed.
I agree, and that was a missed opportunity possibly.
Because this isn't the first time. I mean, there's a pattern forming and it follow the procedure.
List the other ones for me, because I want to be able to look into all the ones you're referencing.
I'm not going to.
I
It
would
goes back.
like the same. I mean, I think it's only fair. If you're referencing other examples, I think it's only fair that you afford us an
Well, the
opportunity.
911 dispatch, we didn't have any other quotes for it. And you're saying that it didn't qualify for any, but
We
how
can
you
talk
do-
about that.
We
But
covered
that was single
we've
source.
covered this under state statute. I gave it to you in
I
writing.
understand, I have it, I have all that.
Okay, then I don't know if you're trying to accuse me of
I'm not
backdoing
accusing
something,
anyone of anything.
then I don't appreciate it because I gave it to you by state statute writing. I've also made that call to State Board of Accounts before I ever came here.
I was just asked a question to say.
But now you're going back saying there's a trend that we're not
See,
following
that's
policies
why
of the State Board of Accounts. Is that not what I heard?
Question because
Well,
That's
actually,
exactly
people
what
aren't
Paul
gonna
wants to
agree
know.
because it's in the
And I don't
past.
appreciate it.
And I appreciate your comment.
Well, the biggest part of that is we got no paperwork back then. All we got was verbal. And
I had no communication, and the dispatch was not being tossed over to the city either. So where am I on that?
You're way off of that because there was never ever decisions anywhere close to
There was
make
numerous
a
meetings
central
and they were
dispatch.
taken out of the budget of a new jail bill. It was removed from a working budget.
You know, then you have to talk to the commissioners about that. But that decision on central dispatch was a long ways away.
But that affected the whole procedure of this planning and budgeting of a jail. It was removed.
You know, one of the questions I would have on that, going back there, was there was no other Motorola dealers that you could get a quote from?
Motorola is Motorola. You get their price whether you're in Colorado or Florida. It's what they call it. The PD.
State QPA, Motorola Direct, I believe, I wasn't involved in that component of it. You're dealing with the manufacturer directly themselves. ERS, which is here today to represent it, is a distributor for those products. So in relationship to being able to deal with the vendor directly, that was what the Motorola quote was for the other components that were purchased previously. And that follows what the State Integrated Public Safety Commission, IPSC for short, in the process that they use and who they referred us to to be able to collaborate on this particular project.
So there was no other Motorola dealer that could have quoted on that.
You're dealing with Motorola directly. It's not like you're going to like Kelly
And
Chevrolet.
and what is
Car.
GRS?
ERS is a distributor.
They get
for those
first factory
products.
dealers.
Yeah, there's dealers around, others.
But it's like going to Ford to buy a vehicle, is what they're saying, is that Motorola is Ford. They're giving you the price on the Ford, but then they're servicing it through ERS, which is
Your
a
local
dealership.
contact.
Well, they're gonna get a cut of it. They're the dealer that's gonna handle it. But can these people go under the state bid?
It's published. It's
I
published.
understand it's public, but can they quote under the state bid? I believe they can. You know,
When the state qualifies those pricings, that's what a QPA is. And they have different products across the state and they're all visible. You can go to the state website and type in QPAs and it will list every product that is there and the qualified pricing that has been agreed upon by the state of Indiana.
by the state of Indiana, but I think a
Correct.
dealer can go under that price.
I
On
wouldn't
the
be able to
state bid.
comment on that, sir.
But the whole thing, I think, goes back to Jones' thing on communications. We asked several times to get information. We didn't get any paperwork back then. ERS, this was done in February. And so ERS had a long time to work on this, and that's what Jones trying to point out. And then all of a sudden, first part of June, we try to get other bids when the commissioners have already signed the contract. Trying to understand how that happens. You're going on bids and you've already signed a contract. And then if ERS came up with the specs and the other vendors know it, where does that go? I just think if this came out in February, and I think it's the gentleman saying it, why are we just getting it? This proposal has been canceled 2 or 3 times. Could have had a presentation then, we could have had time to think about it.
Well, and it
If-
also,
if-
we just got this we just got the email on this Wednesday or Thursday. That's really short.
Well, I think, my understanding is the email is just to inform us that they want to pay for it out of ARPA. It's not going back to open it back up for discussion on the project itself. It's just a matter of how it's going to be paid. That's my understanding why we're here today. I think we're getting pretty deep into the reads on past wounds and discussions on things that didn't get done the way that we thought or that some of us thought that they should have been done. So I think we need to stay focused on the fact that we're here to talk about how we're paying for it and not what we're paying, not necessarily what the project is, but how it wants to be paid for by the commission.
Which I hadn't heard from Kim or John. What's your feelings?
Well, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't have several bids on this. I mean, after all, that amount of money you're looking at is quite a bit of money. I mean, I guess what hurts me is to sit here, all the years I've sat here, and the communications between the council and the commissioners is piss poor. I would like to think I'm man enough to sit down at the table and have a discussion with you. I didn't hear anything on it. I mean, next thing I know, I hear that we're gonna have a dispatch or have the radio system put down to new jail, which I figured we probably would in the long run anyway, but it's just it's all boiled because we don't have communications. And that's what hurts more than anything. And for Jason to sit back here and have a short temper like he's having, don't help anything. We need to sit down and talk. And if we don't talk, we're always gonna have this problem. And that's one thing I have to say on it, and my vote's a no.
I'm going to be in support of what the commissioners recommend on it, and in support of what Thor has to say, no matter how we pay for it, what funds, because the contract's already been signed.
Then my question to you, John, why did we go for bids in June?
That I have no knowledge of.
It's in your packet, it's in this email that's sent out. Amy,
They sent out that information.
yeah. If that's the case, why did we go for bids in June? Cover our tracks, to do it to state standards? You know, how can you sit here and say you think that ERS bid fairly when you have nothing to compare it to?
That's not really our purview. Our purview is the money there for it? Is it being spent appropriately? And is the trust there between us and the commissioners to say that they did it properly? Which there's some question about that, but that's not our job, is to say, did they do it properly? That's their job. Our job is to say, is the money there? Is it coming out of the correct fund? That's it.
And I can tell you, the commissioners made a mistake. His state board of accounts guidance is if it's less than 50,000, then no quotes are needed. If it's between 50 and 100,000, you need one additional quote. And if it's above that, then you need 3. It needs to be out to bid. So we did make a mistake. We approved the contract that was over the $50,000 threshold, and it needed an additional quote.
So perhaps we table this until we can get an additional bid.
He's already signed a
There's
contract.
been attempts, and again, we approved it. I've signed it. I don't know if it's been given to ERS yet, but this is the direction that we'd like to go. And so the question today really is not, the question today is how do we pay for it? Which fund are we going to use to pay? And as I've already said, commissioners feel that it's most appropriate to start utilizing ARPA for these expenses. So that's the question today.
And Kim, I would ask you to reconsider being a no on it, because I think if you just think about what we're talking about here, this is the best way to pay for it. You may not want to pay for it, but it's the best way to pay for it, to make sure that that money gets utilized and not turned back over to the federal government.
And I'll respond also to Councilman Wheeler by saying that I'm here 3 days a week. The office door is open at least 3 days a week. Commissioner Schuman and Commissioner Basinger are here throughout the week as well. Commissioner Schuman's probably here more than I am. So it's an open door. If you'd like more communication, if you have questions about things, then by all means, come in and speak. And I don't ignore my phone either. So we're a phone call away, we're a text away. It's an open door. So in response to your comment about piss poor communication,
It is.
we're here.
But we don't,
Where are you?
we don't know to come in and ask questions if we don't.
Is this a one-way door? I have to come to you guys? I would think if you want something that you think you want approval from the council, that you'd be talking to us. That door swings both ways, Chad. And you know that being on council before. I've heard you many a times saying that's not a commissioner. You know, we need to decide this. Because we're gotta be, you know, we're using taxpayers' money. So we need to know what's going on, what we're buying, what's going on. So I don't have a problem coming in and seeing you. But I think for number one, if the commissioners want to buy something, regardless what it is, you give us a heads up and say, hey, commissioners, we like to do this and that. We don't have that.
Well, here's what I have an issue with is that Chad's not the one that brought up this morning as a commissioner, the attack in a public meeting about it being piss poor. I think that falls on you if you're making that statement, Kim, that you are the one that should be responsible for reaching out, making those communications. I'm informed, I talked to all three commissioners, probably Rob and Chad more than I do Teresa, but we've all had different times where we're more involved and then a lot less involved due to circumstances, personal or otherwise. So I think we're only here once a month. It's our responsibility to come in here and make those communications. So I'm disappointed that you would make that statement. And I think it was an inappropriate statement to make.
Well, that's your opinion.
Yep. And I want to state it because I don't want anybody up here talking for the whole group.
In this contract, I don't really know that it's quote, well, it's got the quote in it. It says, not including consulates, 82,913.43, not including consulates. That's something coming down the road.
That's my purchase because we added it on to benefit the fire. So that's my separate purchase because we chose to add that to benefit the fire departments. Commissioners said that I didn't pay for that because that was an add-on for us.
How much is that, Jason?
20,000. I don't have it in front of me. 22,000. So that's coming out of me because that was something that we felt, was that 2 recorders for fire, additional 2? It was, wasn't it, Carrie? Sorry.
Yeah, that was to facilitate, fire operations to be, order.
So we had add-ons to better fill fire needs, to cover them better. That's why that bill is mine. We chose to add that on for better service.
So when you say that bill is mine, you're writing a check out of your sheriff's salary, it's
Yeah,
not a
that's
commissary?
That's our budget line. That's our budget line.
Which line item is it coming out of? Where is it coming out of?
It's either, I think it's coming out of commissary.
Okay, that's my question. You're not paying for it. You said it's my bill. You're not.
Well,
paying for
sheriff's
it.
department bill.
Right. okay.
Yes,
So it's gonna be paid out of commissary.
commissary or one of the ITs or something like that, yes. Probably commissary.
I would like for you to get back with me at some point and just tell me what that's gonna be paid for out of, for sure, please.
Well, yeah, when this, yeah. When this is done, yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? Equipment wise,
What?
is there anything else? Because this that you're buying now, that the commissioner signed a contract, was in J&K's bid. It was already in there. So that wasn't overlooked and so forth. And that, I don't disagree that ARPA funds is where this needs to come out of. If we were going by protocol, we would take 2 weeks. And because we just got this information Thursday to study. Again, we're pressed to do it. I don't know what the timeline is, but the contract's been signed in May. So
This has been on the agenda previously.
it's been withdrawn 2 or 3 times, yeah. But we just got the information. Your normal standard is 2 weeks before we take action on it. So it, no, I thought.
My point is not making is that it's not a surprise. We knew that there was information coming.
Right, but until you get it, I don't know about anybody else. My last 3 or 4 days was pretty hectic. So to review it and so forth, to give us when it came in February.
If you recall, we did speak at the May council meeting. We only withdrew in June. I wasn't present, and we felt that it could be moved this meeting.
But we just got the information.
So my last comment that I have is I don't like the way this was handled. I would like to have 30 days ahead of meetings if we have to discuss or look at anything with this amount of money. I think it's too late in the process to go out and get more bids and new bids, because the jail's come along sometime early fall, I believe it is, it's going to be open. And for the safety of the sheriff's department, the fire departments, and everybody else that's on that antenna, I'm gonna have to vote yes, because I'm not gonna take a chance and that jail be done and we're still messing around, arguing and fighting about an antenna. We've got to do it for our citizens so everybody is safe and we're covered. But I am so frustrated on the process we've had. So that's all I've got. I'm going to say yes because we've got to cover our people.
Tom, this isn't a vote on whether we're saying yes to purchase it or not. This is a vote on us deciding whether we allow them to spend ARPA funds. If we say no to spending ARPA funds, which makes the most sense on this bill, they're going to pay the bill anyway out of the other 2 or 3 avenues that they have to pay it. So it's not about anybody getting shorted or the county not being safe or the project not being completed on time. It's about where the money's coming from.
It's a little bit about standards and keeping the standards. It is about that. And if we approve this, then we've caved in to not following state procedures. Is that what, Jonah? I think that's what
I think we should follow procedures. I was not before. Why do we have procedures? It's a check and balance. It's to make sure everything is balanced, and it's there for a reason.
But what is in front of us today is a request to expend ARPA funds. Everything else that we've gotten into the weeds on is a secondary issue that we're not happy about.
It's not secondary issue to the taxpayer.
It's a secondary issue to
That's why we have.
It's a secondary issue to the issue that is in front of us right now. The issue is, are we going to spend ARPA funds on it? That's the discussion. That's the decision that we're making here. We're not making a decision whether we're going to send it back out for bids. We're not making a decision on having the State Board of Accounts look into our commissioner's activity because they didn't get another quote. We're talking about simply, are we going to pay for it out of ARPA? It's going to get paid for if we don't pay for it out of ARPA by funds that they have available. That's the question.
When does this have to be paid for?
Sure. No work has been completed. So I'm not sure that.
It's in the back.
I guess another question I have is the copy that Tammy gave us had a non-signed contract page, which has been altered. That's not the original page, because I have an original page where you signed it May 6th. Why would we not get that signed page?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it could be that that's just what she had in her email. She didn't have an executed copy.
It was sent back and forth probably 6 different times because Andy had corrections that he wanted done. So I know it went back and forth in emails a lot with Andy.
The copy you sent to Joan had.
I'm just saying that there was copies back and forth with strikes and things through it. So I don't know what you guys got. So through the process of all this, with Andy sending it back and forth until it was approved, there's a lot of copies out there. But I don't know which one I gave Joan either.
This
Joan
says-
picked one up.
This says that the payments due upon system completion. It's in the packet.
I don't think that there was anything malicious to the fact that you didn't get a signed copy. She probably didn't have a signed copy of her
Yeah, but
email.
the page has been altered.
Explain that to me. What does that mean, alter?
Well, page number 9 is not the same as on Jason's copy. I mean, here's yours with your signature. The 9 is clear down in the corner. The one we got, it's a different 9 and it's up, so. Having both, it made me wonder why that signature was not included in what was sent to us. So,
I don't know the answer for that, but most likely that she just printed whatever copy she had in her email. That's what we got.
I personally would like to see this tabled for 30 days. I understand what you're saying, Thor, and ARPA might be the best place for these funds to get out of, but I think fairness to this body, that we table this for 30 days. That's just my.
What's the projected date of completion, Jason?
Just the end of October.
So it's potentially we won't be paying this bill until November.
Well, we get the kid, have to done before that.
What's I'm asking?
If the job's, if we're supposed to get the session end of October, that means it would be up and ready, so it would be paid before October. It would be, have to be paid at least in September, October, for a radio system to be functional. It's due upon completion if we get the session at the end of October.
That's my question.
Yeah.
What do you anticipate being the completion of the radio system, not the jail facility?
What's it take for us?
We discussed this as we could start as soon as the equipment starts coming in. I estimated about a 2-week window for install.
We can't hear that. I'm
Roughly a
sorry.
2-week window install after the equipment.
As the equipment comes in, we're planning on installing, so that 2 weeks may not be linear. As we get it and coordinate with Motorola on getting their technicians in, configuring it. I'm figuring about a 2-week install, but it could be over the course of time as we start getting things in, like the antenna mounts to get up on the roof, coax, antennas, racks, as those come in, and we have access to that from the contractor, we'll start putting it in.
But you don't expect a payment from us until you're completed.
That's
Yeah.
direct, Derek did, that's what Derek put in the contract, yes.
I'm not sales.
So we've got several months.
Yeah.
2 to 3 months. Is that fair?
I would say yes. Like I said, I'm not on that side of the company, but that sounds very reasonable to me. That's how we typically would do this.
Chad, how does this affect the commissioner's plans and your overall view of trying to get ARPA funds scheduled and spoken for and get into not only an agreement, but you have to have a written agreement where these funds are going to be spent. And we have until the end of the year to get that, because I think the biggest travesty is going to be if we end up losing ARPA funds. So what's your timeline and how's this decision going to affect that?
If it's tabled, I think it has little impact on that. We'll still continue to ask them to utilize our fund for the purchase. And If it needs to be continued for 30 days, then fine with that. Little impact.
So your pleasure.
What does 30 days allow to happen? That's my question.
Well, I still question the methodology of how this went by, technically the bids are supposed to be open in a public meeting. I don't know if that's what was done. We didn't receive any, but still thinking about after a signed contract, you go out for bids. I still got to mull that over in my mind, why, and so forth. Yes, our job is to approve this money, but we got to make sure that it's done in the proper way. That checks and balances and fairness to our taxpayers. So, I'm just still trying to mull that over. Is this correct? Or do we need to go out for bids? I don't know. It's bothersome to me.
I agree. I agree that it could have been handled possibly a little differently. However, I feel that 30 days isn't going to do anything. We're going to be here in July, August, excuse me. It's early. We're going to be here in August with the same proposal, the same amount of money from the same bucket of funds. I don't think it's going to do anything. I don't think it. We're just kicking the can down the road for 30 days.
Maybe it gives us time to think about procedures.
I think there's
Doing
an
procedures properly, and so forth.
So 30 days is not going to make any difference right now.
Unless I'm incorrect, Jason, I don't see how another 30 days changes anything other than we just come back here and do all this again in 30 days. But, the State Board of Accounts has rules. As I said, we had an oversight. We made a mistake. Our county attorney reviewed the contract, but he didn't review, the pricing or anything, just made sure that we were entering into a fair contract. The auditor's office didn't catch it, the commissioners didn't catch it. We moved forward with signing the contract. So it's unfortunate. I'm not proud of it. It was a mistake. So that's just all I have to say. We'll completely cooperate. If you have further questions, we'll show you. The thing about the total purchase, the consulates that Jason talked about coming out of fund in his budget, all of this, when it came about, the commissioners determined that it would be reasonable for us to fund the antenna. And in a conversation with the sheriff, I had said that we would meet him somewhere in the middle on this expense. So let us cover the antenna and you cover the consulates. So that's why the commissioners even have involvement.
Okay, so I'll make a motion. We table it for 30 days. And if any of the council members want more questions, have questions need answered by the commissioners or by the sheriff or whoever, get that done and taken care of before the August whatever meeting. And then when we've hashed this out 3 times or so, which is good. I understand where everybody's coming from, but I make a motion, we table it for 30 days. Get your homework done. If you have more questions, and next month we will come in here where you got or no.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
second by Kim. Further discussion?
Yeah, I disagree. My point would be the same point that I've already made. I'm going to reiterate it. This isn't a question about whether there should be an investigation into our commissioners on proper procedures, because we can initiate that anyway. It sounds to me like there's questions about our commissioners not following the rules that they're supposed to follow. That has nothing to do with this decision. In my mind, this is a decision to spend ARPA funds. We should treat it as such and then take an alternative route on whether we have a belief that there's something that is not above board with the commissioners. But I don't think that has anything to do with this issue. And the part that I just really have a problem with is that we're going to be back here using the same 45 minutes to however long the next one lasts to have the same discussion and say these same things, where the decision that is in front of us that's being asked to be made today has nothing to do with the mistake that they made. It's a separate issue and it should be addressed separately. It has nothing to do with this.
Any other comments?
I'm in agreement with Thor.
I am as well.
Any further comments? Questions? Have a motion on the floor. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed to say. Passes 4-3. So if you have questions, yeah, Jason and Ted will be available, I'm sure, to answer those. Okay. Personnel,
Nothing to bring in front of the council. We'll have a meeting after this personnel committee. We'll talk about a few things.
Commissioners report, Chad?
The only thing that I would say is that yesterday we had accepted a bid from Findon Brown for our community crossings grant project, which is Lincoln Way West from US 30 to Costa County line. And those bids were opened at a public meeting and it took under advisement, and we accepted the bid yesterday for $1,127,378. Aside from that, we've had some flats and rezonings, and we've had some, we're looking into utilizing Brightspeed for our internet service provider. We've had some meetings with them. We're currently with MediaCom. There's a cost savings initiative, but we're currently vetting that. That's all I have. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Chad? You have the minutes of our June meeting.
A motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Got a motion by Nick, a second by Thor, that we approve. That was June 4th minutes. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, the same. Passes. Any comments from the public? Go ahead, Scott.
Morning. You've only had the budget for a little bit, but didn't know if you had any questions for the health department, since it's a little new thing with the Health First Indiana. Will be on the agenda for August meeting for approval for specifically just the Health First Indiana, such as in that date, September 1st. I don't know if you have any questions or comments.
You know, I do want to sit down with you
Okay,
on that.
okay. Yeah, if you could get with me
Yeah. I'll
here
set
soon,
up one.
let me know. Yeah, that'd be great. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
That does bring up another, go ahead, on the budget. Your thoughts? Do we wait till August meeting, or do you want to meet and work on the budget another day?
August meeting works out better for me.
Don't we have a deadline for Scott in August though?
He's got to have, I think, submitted
Just
September
the
1.
Health First Indiana budget would need to be approved, that portion of the budget.
Can that be split out? Because if not, we probably ought to meet sooner.
What's the auditor's timeframe?
She sent out the schedule, but he has it in front of him. So I think she wants to adopt budgets by October, beginning of October.
When will we have the information from the state on what funds we have available?
Well, that's a good question.
Because we're not, really, we're spinning our wheels if we try to make decisions before that.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody's thought process.
Yeah, so if you don't have an idea what the income is, how can you make a budget?
And that's a good comment, John, because Tamara gave this to me last year. The request was almost 15 million. Or we adopted a budget of 13.2. So the difference was 1.7. So until we see that income, probably, I'll get with Tiffany and Tamara and see what that time frame looks like, and we'll let you know if we need to set up.
Maybe even a special meeting or a special, special meeting at that point, because that's the information we need.
She's got August budget workshop with DLPF. So after this meeting, she really doesn't have hopes to publish a budget by the end of, or third week of August.
We'll let you guys know as soon as we get in there and they release that information.
We know you're on a faster time frame.
I was just gonna answer Joan's question. So there are personnel in the HFI, and that has a 3% payroll increase attached to it. So just so you know, yes, if you approve the state one, but not approve the county one, it does make a difference.
We could also adjust our time on our budget meeting on it to meet a time element with our still employed and council members. We could do late afternoon or whatever's needed.
Yeah.
Or early evening.
Yeah. I mean, we can try to make it work.
Saturday midday.
Get some rain in here. You're mowing like crazy.
If it's raining, we meet a Saturday
Yeah, but we'll keep you informed of that. But I think we're all in agreement. We need that income, see what our income is, so. Okay. Tamara's got it.
Okay, so I think you guys are all, you should be aware of, there was a bank discrepancy. We could not balance between the auditor's office and treasurer's office. The banks were really just the treasurer's side of things. And Kay might be able to explain a little bit more, but this has been carried on for longer than Kay has been here. I think even, I don't know how many years we went back, but we tried to go back as, was it 2011? Yeah, at least. We tried to go back to see where we could find why we weren't balancing with bank one and bank two. We were able to find like 40-something thousand of that. If you guys remember, just like receipt errors from back in the day, we did fix those. But that led to discrepancy of $362,307.20. And what that we think is just money that should have been moved from bank one to bank two on the bank side of things. So once we do that, the treasurer's office will balance. So it's really on the treasurer side of things. We did do a form. It's more just to have documentation. It's not an actual transfer in the auditor's office. It'll just be on the bank side of things again. So it's not like a form is needed, but because it's such a big amount of money, we wanted to have documentation of that. We have gone through State Board of Accounts. State Board of Accounts did investigate it. They do agree that it's just on the bank side of things that previous decay, the treasurer probably just on that side just didn't get it moved from bank one to bank two. So I do have that today if you would like to sign it. If you don't feel comfortable with it, you want to review it and talk about it, and next month you can.
So did you just say the money's still there? It's just in the wrong
Bank.
Okay, so we're not losing 300.
We're not losing it, no. So what you guys see on the financial side, what we report to on the financial side is correct. But what we report on the financial side is not what Kay is showing on her side of things.
Well, I'm comfortable with the fact that you have just documented it in a public meeting, and I don't know why this form is necessary. I don't think it's an appropriate way to document this, because really, we have no working knowledge as
It was the
council of
recommendation
this.
State Board of Accounts to do this. It
What's
was the recommendation of State Board of Accounts to do this.
But it's just a way of documenting that you've
It's just a
shared
way
it
of
with
document-
us.
Because I have say where the money gets moved, but because of the amount, they just said it would be nice to have that, so.
And maybe that way when we're audited next year and they say, Kay, why did you make that transfer? Because usually she has some kind of paperwork showing why she's making transfers. She can have that with it.
So this situation telling us that we've got more money, we've got less money, or we've got more money here and less money here.
What you see on the financial side is correct. What we share with you of what's in the balances of things is correct, but what she, on her side, yes, she's got too much money in bank one, not enough in bank two.
And it's the same amount.
It's the same. But she's balancing her banks altogether, her total balances. But when she does the banks, they don't. Is that correct, Kay?
I have carried that, or not carried that, I have had this discrepancy since I took office. And the former treasurer also. This goes way back from when we had issues from 2 previous auditors. And the State Board of Accounts just drew a line. We are balanced with the funds. The funds are correct. The bank accounts need to be adjusted. That's all this is. The money that you see on your side is correct.
Does this have anything to do with our auditor that got arrested? Is that where this all stemmed from, on monies that were
we really
misallocated?
Tiffany and I have worked, the daughter and I have worked on this for the last 6 months, trying to go back through things. And that's what State Board of Accounts, we've also worked with them, have confirmed when they drew that line that things probably didn't get moved in the bank accounts like they needed to, but our audited books are clean. And I do that every day.
Too bad it took so long to get that fixed.
Well, I think you finally took the time and really spent.
Tiffany and I took the time to
Yeah.
do it. Everybody else has just been, and State Board of Accounts is honestly, they're okay because our books are good. It's just, I don't want to have to do that anymore, and I want it to be 0, 0 on both sides.
For sure.
Sure.
$362,307.20. The amount. So.
And I'd be happy to show anybody that you come up. I do it every month. Make sure that that's situated.
I'm comfortable in signing it as long as you're comfortable in knowing exactly where the money is.
And I appreciate you guys working on it, plus going to the State Board of Accounts. That's,
Yeah, it should be corrected.
so is that a motion, Nick?
That is a motion that we sign the transfer for the 362,000 XXXX, how much ever that was.
I'll second.
Second by Joan. Further discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, the same. Okay. 161.
You voted yes.
Raise your hand, right?
He's real quick with his, all those opposed the same. I was the same. I was a.
Okay.
Okay.
Unanimous.
No, I was confirming that I voted against.
Oh, yeah.
6-1, my bad.
You want to do the book?
This is exactly why in the plan commission, we went to roll call for a vote rather than raise hands, because there was some miscommunication. But that's all right.
Councilman Barrett, anything?
I have nothing today.
Okay. Joan?
Well, on a good note for the sheriff's department, I do have some good things. I went to the JCAP graduation, and I will have to say it was pretty emotional, actually. And you really felt the thankfulness from those participants to be in that program.
And I do wish every single one of them success in it. They did a great job.
Thor,
I have nothing, thank you.
Tim?
Nothing.
I do. I'm on the LAPC board. Last Friday, I went to a district meeting, District 3, is that correct, you two? In Fort Wayne, had a 4-hour meeting out there, never been to one before. I will compliment you, very proud of Whitley County on the personnel that we had. It was very impressive, so I thank you.
I do have something that I could jump back in. I want to give an update on the solid waste board. We are planning a tire amnesty day coming up. It's going to be published shortly with our next meeting, I think, being next Monday. But we were awarded a grant from the state, from IDEM, on tire removal. So we're going to be taking in tires from the county for, we have like $10,000 to spend on this initiative. And we're hoping that we get the word out and we get a lot of people to bring tires in. There's going to be some rules on it, of course, size and off rims and how many each individual can bring. But I'll let everybody know that's something we're working on with solid waste.
That's nice, because I get tired of picking them out of the site.
Yep.
Good. And I have nothing. Personnel committee after this. Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
So.